ChatGPT accurately diagnoses 3-year mystery. Imagine this. Years of searching, 17 doctors scratching their heads, countless appointments filling the calendar, and the answer. It pops up from an AI chatbot. Welcome to the deep dive. We take complex stories and, pull out the really fascinating bits for you. Today we're plunging into the unbelievable tale of 4-year-old Alex, a little boy who spent 3 agonizing years battling chronic pain that just stumped doctor after doctor until, well, an unexpected source, ChatGPT, offered a potential key.
It's a story that really grabbed you, doesn't it? I mean, it says so much about the challenges, the real difficulties in diagnosing these complex conditions. And it definitely throws a spotlight on, on AI and the role it might play in healthcare down the line.
Absolutely.
So if you're listening and you've ever felt lost, trying to get medical answers for yourself or somebody you care about, or maybe you're just fascinated by technology and how it tackles tough problems, then yeah, stick with us. This deep dive is definitely for you.
For sure. We've dug through the reports to bring you the crucial details of Alex's journey. It's quite a winding road. Our goal today: understand how ChatGPT, this AI platform, managed to suggest a diagnosis that 17 doctors missed over 3 years. We also want to get a clear picture of what tethered cord syndrome actually is, and explore the bigger picture, the exciting possibilities, but also the crucial limitations of using AI in medicine.
Right, it's not all straightforward.
Okay, so let's dive in. It all started around the time the world went into lockdown, didn't it?
Yeah, that seems to be the starting point, around the COVID lockdowns, and kind of ironically, they got a new bounce house around then, too. That's when 4-year-old Alex started having this persistent pain.
Right.
His nanny actually noticed first. She reported needing to give him Motrin every single day just to kind of prevent these major meltdowns.
Wow, daily Motrin for a 4-year-old. That's a huge red flag for any parent. It kicks off that search for answers immediately, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the first path they went down was, looking back, maybe a bit of a detour.
How so?
Well, one of the early things was that Alex started chewing on things a lot. So naturally they thought, okay, dentist.
Makes sense.
The dentist ruled out cavities or anything obvious, but did notice teeth grinding. And they suggested maybe a small palate was obstructing his airway during sleep.
Okay.
So they fitted an expander. And for a little while, it actually seemed to help. You can imagine the relief, thinking, okay, maybe this is it.
Oh, totally. That glimmer of hope.
But it shows how easily you can get anchored to that first prominent symptom, right? The chewing led to dental, but maybe missed the bigger picture initially.
Yeah, anchoring bias. But that hope, it didn't last long, did it?
No, unfortunately not. Even with the expander, other things started cropping up. New symptoms. Must have been so disheartening.
Like what? What else started happening?
Well, Alex wasn't really growing taller. His pediatrician first thought, oh, maybe it's just the pandemic, lifestyle changes. But his mom, Courtney, she apparently had this gut feeling it was something more.
Always trust the parent's gut.
Often, yeah. Plus, physical therapy was recommended because he had this imbalance when he walked. Like he always seemed to lead with his right foot.
Okay, so now we have pain, chewing, maybe sleep issues, growth problems, and a weird walk. It's building.
It really is. A growing list of seemingly unrelated issues. And it didn't stop there.
Oh gosh, more.
Yeah. He started getting severe headaches and just overwhelming exhaustion, like wiped out all the time.
Poor little guy.
So more specialists, a neurologist said, okay, it looks like migraines. An ENT, an otolaryngologist, checked him out and ruled out sinus or airway sleep problems.
So everyone's looking at their piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. Each specialist is doing their job, focusing on their migraines, airway gait, but no one was connecting all the dots. The underlying thing was just missed.
It just paints this picture of utter frustration. 17 doctors over 3 years. That number is just staggering. And Courtney, his mom, she said something like, no one wants to address the bigger problem, just chasing symptoms.
Yeah, and that's sadly not that uncommon with complex or rare conditions. The symptoms can be all over the place, mimicking more common things. Specialists are vital, but sometimes you need that wider lens to see how it all fits.
And it sounds like Courtney was desperately trying to find that connection herself. Like a physical therapist suggested Chiari malformation at one point.
Right, another potential lead, which then triggered more research, more consultations, a new pediatrician, pediatric internist, even an adult internist, a musculoskeletal doctor.
Wow.
Just round and round. An endless cycle of appointments, hopes raised, then dashed. Still no clear answer.
I can only imagine how draining, how worrying that must have been, just relentless.
Absolutely. Pouring hours into research, endless doctor visits, and still nothing definitive. You can see how someone might reach a point of desperation.
Which I guess brings us to this really pivotal moment, turning to AI.
Exactly. Exhausted, frustrated, feeling like they'd hit a wall with traditional medicine, Courtney decided to try ChatGPT.
Just putting all his medical info in?
Yeah, but not just casually. She was meticulous. She entered symptoms, details from his MRI notes, really comprehensive stuff.
Okay.
And here's a fascinating detail. She included something she felt was important. Alex couldn't sit cross applesauce, cross-legged on the floor.
Huh.
Yeah.
That seems like a small detail.
Maybe to some, but Courtney felt it pointed to something structural. And putting that specific detail in, along with everything else, that seems to have been key for the AI.
It's wild that a detail a busy doctor might overlook could be significant for an AI sifting through data patterns.
It is. So she feeds all this in.
And what did ChatGPT come back with?
It suggested tethered cord syndrome.
Tethered cord syndrome.
And for Courtney, reading that, it just clicked. It resonated with everything she'd been seeing in Alex for 3 years. Like a light bulb finally going on. All those scattered puzzle pieces suddenly started to make a kind of sense.
Wow. After all that time, what a moment that must have been. Did she just run with the AI diagnosis?
Well, not immediately, just based on that, but it gave her a strong direction. She then did something really smart.
What was that?
She found and joined a Facebook group, specifically for families of kids with tethered cord syndrome.
Ah, community validation.
Exactly. And as she read their stories, their experiences, they mirrored Alex's journey so closely. The symptoms, the diagnostic struggles, it was like reading about her own son.
That must have solidified her feeling that this was it.
It really strengthened her suspicion. It gave her the confidence to go back to the medical system, but this time armed with a very specific possibility, one suggested by AI and validated by lived experience.
Okay, so let's unpack that diagnosis. Tethered cord syndrome. What exactly is it for those of us who haven't heard of it?
So according to the American Association of Neurological Surgeons, it's basically a neurological issue. Tissue attachments, like little anchors, restrict the spinal cord's movement within the spinal canal.
Okay.
Think of the spinal cord needing to move freely as a child grows, bends, stretches. With tethered cord, it's like the bottom end is stuck, or tethered. This causes abnormal stretching as the child grows.
And I remember reading it's linked somehow to spina bifida.
That's right, often associated with spina bifida, which is a birth defect where the spinal column doesn't fully close during pregnancy. Sometimes there's an obvious opening on the back at birth. But Alex had spina bifida occulta.
Occulta means hidden, right?
Exactly. Hidden spina bifida. The outer vertebrae aren't fully closed, but the skin usually covers it, so there's no visible opening. Because it's hidden, it can be harder to spot early on. But that incomplete closure can still lead to problems like the cord getting tethered later as the child grows.
So it might not be obvious from birth.
Precisely. And other things can cause tethering too, like fatty lumps called lipomas, or tumors, or even scar tissue forming down there. But the result is the same, that abnormal stretching.
And the symptoms, because Alex had such a wide range, how do they connect?
Well, the symptoms can be really diverse, which is why it's tricky to diagnose. Back and leg pain that fits Alex needing Motrin. Teeth grinding, surprisingly, can be a symptom too.
Really?
The leg dragging or that gait imbalance, like Alex leading with one foot, headaches, exhaustion. Alex had those too. It can even affect growth sometimes because of the tension. And in more severe cases, you might see bowel or bladder issues, scoliosis, curvature of the spine, or foot abnormalities.
It covers so much ground.
It does. And like one of the doctors mentioned, it's especially tough in young kids who can't clearly say, my back feels weird when I bend this way. Parents might just think their kid's way of moving is just their normal.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. So Courtney, armed with this ChatGPT suggestion and the Facebook group validation, she went to a new neurosurgeon.
Yes, and she specifically brought up tethered cord syndrome as a possibility.
And what happened?
The neurosurgeon listened, reviewed Alex's MRI scans carefully, and confirmed it.
They confirmed the diagnosis?
Yes, they could see the spina bifida occulta and the tethered cord on the imaging.
Oh my goodness. The relief, the validation for Courtney must have been immense.
Absolutely. Finally, a concrete answer after 3 long, painful years.
And there was a treatment, something they could actually do.
Yes, thankfully. Surgery was the path forward.
What did that involve?
It's a procedure to release the tethered cord. Essentially, the surgeon carefully cuts those tissue attachments, unties that rope, so to speak, that's holding the spinal cord down at the base of the spine. This releases the tension, lets the cord move freely again.
Right. And how's Alex doing? We heard he was a pretty active kid before all this.
He really was. Loved baseball, loved hockey. But the pain got so bad, he actually had to stop playing hockey. The skates put too much pressure on his back and knees.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, but get this, he still loved it so much, he started coaching from the sidelines.
That's fantastic. Resilience.
Totally. He's still recovering from the surgery now. But the hope, the big hope, is that releasing the cord will ease his symptoms dramatically and let him get back to being that active kid.
Such an inspiring story. A mother's persistence, a child's resilience. And it really makes you think about the role AI played here. How does ChatGPT even do that? It's not a doctor.
Right, that's the crucial thing to grasp. ChatGPT is essentially a super sophisticated pattern matching machine. It's trained on just unimaginable amounts of text from the internet.
Including medical stuff.
Including vast amounts of medical text, research papers, case studies, everything. So when Courtney fed it all that detailed info symptoms, MRI notes, the cross-legged thing, the AI scanned its database for patterns, it found statistical correlations between Alex's specific combination of symptoms and documented cases of tethered cord syndrome. It's predicting likelihoods based on patterns in the data it learned from.
So it's like, one expert called it a super high-performance medical search engine. Is that a fair way to put it?
That's a pretty good analogy, yeah.
Yeah.
Human doctors have deep expertise, but limited bandwidth, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't possibly know or recall every rare disease or unusual symptom combination documented globally. An AI like ChatGPT can process that sheer volume of text data and potentially spot connections, especially in complex multi-system cases like Alex's that might otherwise be missed. It doesn't have the same blind spots, maybe.
But, and this is a big but, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are serious limitations, dangers even.
Huge limitations, absolutely critical to understand. The biggest one is probably hallucination.
Where it just makes stuff up.
Basically, yes. If it doesn't have a clear answer based on its training data, it might generate plausible sounding but completely fabricated information. And in medicine, that's incredibly dangerous. You can't have diagnoses or treatments based on made-up data.
No way. So it's a tool, potentially a powerful one, but definitely not a replacement for actual medical expertise.
Not even close. It needs human oversight, critical thinking, clinical judgment. That's irreplaceable.
And the established medical community, like the American Medical Association, they've weighed in on this, right? They're cautious.
Very cautious, and rightly so. The AMA supports using proven AI responsibly. Maybe for things like reducing paperwork or improving efficiency. But for direct diagnosis or patient care, using tools like ChatGPT, they stress the huge risks, the limitations, the potential for inaccuracies. They're calling for rigorous testing, clinical proof of safety and effectiveness, regulatory oversight, kind of like how new drugs get approved. You need evidence it works and is safe before using it widely.
Makes complete sense. Caution is definitely needed. Alex's story is amazing, but it could have gone differently.
It could have, which really brings us back full circle to Courtney, Alex's mom. Her role was just fundamental.
Absolutely. Her advocacy.
Yes, 3 years of relentless searching, documenting, questioning, trusting her gut, and finally even exploring this, unconventional tech approach. She drove the whole process.
And the emotions when they finally got the diagnosis. Relief. Validation.
Huge relief, yeah. And validation that her instincts were right all along. Plus, excitement for Alex's future, finally understanding what was wrong.
And she had a message for other parents, didn't she? About connecting the dots.
She did, a really powerful one. Essentially that you, the parent, are the one who sees everything. You live with the child day in, day out. She said something like, no one can help you connect the dots like you can. You have to be your child's strongest advocate. Keep pushing.
Such a vital takeaway. Parents know their kids in a way no one else does. Their baseline, their little changes. That knowledge is invaluable.
It truly is. Her tenacity really was the key here.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive into Alex's story really shows this incredible intersection, doesn't it? Mother's fierce advocacy meeting the potential of AI as this unexpected tool. It offered a totally fresh perspective when all the usual paths seemed blocked.
Yeah, it highlights how, considering all the resources available, even new ones, can sometimes break through those really tough diagnostic walls.
And for everyone listening, you've really seen how that combination persistence plus the analytical power of AI led to an answer that 17 doctors couldn't find over 3 years. It really underscores being open to different approaches.
Definitely. But, as we've said, it's not a simple magic bullet.
No, not at all. This story, while so encouraging, also brings up big questions about AI in medicine. We need that validation, the research. And we absolutely cannot forget the irreplaceable role of human doctors, their expertise, their empathy, their judgment.
Absolutely. Which leads to a thought maybe for everyone listening to take away.
Yeah.
In this world overflowing with information, with technology advancing so fast,
Yeah.
how can we each, thoughtfully leverage these new tools for our own health or for loved ones, but do it responsibly? Critically aware of the limits and always remembering that expert human guidance in healthcare is still, and likely always will be, absolutely essential.
That's a great point to ponder. How do we use the tools without letting them overshadow the crucial human element?
Exactly. It's something we'll all be navigating more and more. We certainly hope Alex makes a full recovery and his story helps others.
Us too. Share this deep dive if you found it insightful, and definitely let us know your thoughts on AI in healthcare. We're curious to hear different perspectives.
And remember Courtney's message: advocate, persist, you know best.